like to have an energizer first. So this energizer is called Guess the Words by Number Code. So you have to identify each letter by each number. For example, letter A is number 1, letter B is number 2, letter C is number 3. So each word is equivalent to 5 points. The first one who will raise their hands will have the chance to answer. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, let's start. Number 1. Yes, Miss Gonzon.
Um, Intrapersonal.
Okay, that's correct. Let's move on to number 2. Yes, Miss Australia.
My answer is interpersonal.
Let's check. That's correct. Number 3. Yes, Mr. Gallego.
My answer is small group.
That's correct. Next is number 4. Yes, Miss Gonzon.
I think the answer is public.
Let's check. That's correct. Next is number 5. Yes, Miss Australia.
So my answer in number 5 is mass.
That's correct. Lastly, yes, Mr. Gallego.
My answer is communication.
Okay, let's check. And that's correct. So, from intrapersonal to mass is the levels of communication. So that's all for our energizer. Thank you guys for participating.
So first, let me define communication. Communication is simply the act of transferring information from one place, person, or group to another. Giving, receiving, and exchanging information are all parts of communication, which might take the form of talking, writing, listening, or reading. Now, in communication, we have 5 levels. We have intrapersonal, interpersonal, small group, public, and mass communication. Interpersonal communication is conversation with oneself, and this might involve self-talk, visualization, and even recall and recollection. Intrapersonal is you are communicating within yourself or simply self-talk. Usually happens when making a decision or analyzing a problem. We have positive and negative self-talk. Positive self-talk can boost our self-esteem, while negative self-talk can affect our confidence on how we communicate to others. Now, talking with yourself is a healthy way of assessing yourself and analyzing how far you have been accomplished in life. Intrapersonal communication does not require an observer. The other forms of communication must be perceived by someone else to count as communication. However, intrapersonal communication takes place only inside our heads. This means that intrapersonal communication is the internal dialogue that guides your beliefs, behaviors, and actions. It can sometimes refer to how you talk to yourself when no one is around. Also, several times you could think of dead or fictional people. People also use intrapersonal communication to describe what others think of them. So, intrapersonal is a conversation between you and yourself that happens in your mind. It's your way of communicating with yourself through thoughts and feelings. So, we have three types of intrapersonal communication. The first one is self-awareness. Self-awareness is to understand how you see yourself in relation to others. It is vital to examine your intrapersonal communication. This self-reflection determines your beliefs, ideas, values, and attitudes. Your attitude is connected to the value you own, and values are based on your core beliefs. The second is perception. Your perception of other defines you. Your, your self-concept and how you see others are two sides of the same coin. One affects the other. We tend to judge ourselves and others, but this is only natural because we all have expectations. However, it is essential to be aware of your own biases. Also, we should not judge others based on them. And the third one is expectation. It is important to know what you expect from yourself and others. So, you can use intrapersonal communication to discuss that matters to you personally. It could be an emotional or mental concern or something related to your health. You might even use it when trying to make decisions about your future. Now, the purpose behind this type of communication is that we must try to understand ourselves first, making it easier for us to understand others.
So what is a small group communication? So the usual size of small group communication ranges from 3 up to 20 people. So in small group communication, there are 3 or more people who are engaged in this kind of communication, and it usually happens in group studies, business meetings, and brainstormings, wherein they share a common purpose or goal and ideas. They also shared identity and interdependence. So when we say interdependence, it means the action of one member affects the other member. Like for example, a group activity in the class. So for example, our group, which is group 2, we share a common purpose, which is to do the activity assigned to us successfully. So we share ideas on how we are going to accomplish that goal, and there's interdependence, like what I said earlier. Interdependence is when the action of one member affects the other members. So if we apply it in our situation, this is where if all the members participated in the activity, then it would result in the quality performance or output. Then there's shared identity, where we are all English major college students, and we share a group name, which is Group 2. So next is public communication. So generally, public communication is when you are standing in front of the crowd and you are speaking or delivering a message. So it usually happens when a group of people gather and they share information or a presentation with an audience. So it is used to inform, like what we see on the news. It is also used to persuade, motivate, and take action, like in political campaigns, public awareness campaigns, or brand campaigns. And If you're familiar with TED Talk, it is a conference where someone would share a speech or talk in front about, like, for example, self motivation or about business or something like that. And then their mission is to spread ideas. So yeah, public communication can also be non-verbal, like traffic signs or their shopping mall signages. And those are the examples of public communication. Public communication is important, just like any level of communication, since just what I said earlier, it motivates, encourages, and informs people. So, next level of communication is mass communications. Mass communication, it is when an individual or organization is communicating to a mass audience or a large number of people. So it is different from public communication, since the channel of mass communication always like involve technology, like in social media, newspapers, magazines, televisions and radio. All those things need technology. Right. So also the feedback in mass communication is delayed, since the sender wouldn't see like the feedback immediately, unlike the face-to-face communication where you can get the feedback and message right away. Like for example, in a hard copy of a book, if the recipient or the audience wants to give feedback on that particular book through email, the author wouldn't see the feedback immediately because the author wasn't expecting email for book feedback, and the author would just see it when they open their emails. Also on Facebook Live, if there's a problem in internet connection, then the feedback and even the message will most likely to be delayed.
Let us now proceed to the primary principles of communication. First is the message sent is not necessarily the message received. Second, it is impossible not to communicate. Third, every message has both content and feelings. And fourth, non-verbal cues are more believable than verbal cues. First, the message sent is not necessarily the message received. The worst frustration in communicating is the feeling that your message did not achieve its intended outcome. When this situation happens, it might be because of a misunderstanding. Maybe they don't have any interest at all. Sometimes they don't understand, or maybe the sender's message is not even clear to begin with. For example, a teacher told this student Maria to go to the map and find America. And then Maria said, "It is here." Then the teacher asked the class who discovered America. The whole class said, "It is Maria." In this example, the teacher lacks clarity. He should have been more specific as he was asking children and ask a simpler question or a more clearer question. Another example is when you are talking to someone but you are near a construction site, and the noise of the surrounding will become a barrier for a proper communication. Sometimes the message sent is not necessarily the message received when both the communicators have a language barrier. Like when the sender speaks in a foreign language, or the sender speaks in a dialect. The receiver will not be able to properly decode it, and that will lead to a misunderstanding, and the message will not be properly received.
It is impossible to not communicate. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, and no one dare to disturb the sounds of silence. Changes in facial expression, posture, breathing patterns, vocal intonation, loudness, rhythm, all contributes to the communication. Even quiet indicates disinterest or modest protest. In reality, listening to what is not spoken is the most crucial component of communication. So how do people communicate non-verbally? Non-verbal communication is made up primarily of facial expression, body languages. Understanding these non-verbal cues helps to fully understand what is the speaker saying. Mastering non-verbal communication will enable you to be a better communicator as you get better understanding of the non-verbal cues and the other people you communicate with are sending. If you don't understand non-verbal communication, you will miss out the part of the messages. And non-verbal cues can tell you how people feel, if they are telling the truth or whether or not they are paying attention. All action, both intentional or unintentional, communicate certain messages. For example, deliberately ignoring someone is not communicating. Quite contrary, as you know, if you've been on the receiving end, you are in the receiving end, this action sends a strong message. Moreover, verbal communication, the words used, is only part of the larger communication process that includes body language, facial expression, tone of voice, and voice volume. Every message has both content and feeling. Every message contains both content and emotion. The, the message content is determined by the words used. Non-verbal cues such as body language, gesture, facial expression, tone of voice, intonation, and voice loudness indicates the emotion associated with the content. Because the words used are isolated from any and all non-verbal clues that provide crucial information and explanation. Electronic communication via email, text, and other types of instant messages can be difficult and easily misread. Just like that. Non-verbal cues are more believable than verbal cues. When there is a difference between content, verbal, and the sensation non-verbal of a messages, the person receiving it will nearly always give the feeling more weight. In other words, if a speaker words do not match to his or her tone of voice, facial expression, body language, and the other nonverbal indicator, the listener will pay greater attention to and trust the nonverbal indications. Consider how you react when someone saying something that appears to be a compliment, such as "You look good," "You look terrific," but such in a sarcastic tone of voice. Which do you believe more, the verbal words that he used or she used, or nonverbal tone of voice or feelings? So that's it. Thank you so much.